no one dares to admit. You are tired. But not physically tired. You are exhausted from being affected by everything. From a badly spoken word, a look you interpret as judgment, an ambiguous gesture, a prolonged silence, being enough to ruin your entire day. It bothers you when someone doesn't respond as you expected. It irritates you that you're not recognized, that you're not validated, that people don't look at you the way you believe you deserve. And the worst part is that you know it. You know you're trapped in an invisible system, in a cage that you yourself have built with emotional mud and social mud. But there is a question that echoes in your mind, without finding an answer. How do I get out of here? How do I stop getting irritated with the world, with people, with their comments, with their absences, with their clumsy ways of existing? Because you try, you swear you do. You meditate, you read motivational quotes, you tell yourself not to take anything personally. But you do. You always do. Because the problem is not what others do. The problem is what inside you reacts. What if I told you there is a way to break that mechanism? What if I told you Nietzsche already knew it? That he anticipated it, that he lived it firsthand, that he dissected it like a surgeon of the human mind. This man, who was rejected by his peers, despised by women, betrayed by friends, and forgotten by academia, ended up transforming his pain into a philosophy of steel. And that philosophy has a brutal key: not to react. Not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because you have reached a level of consciousness that prevents you from falling into the trap of the too human. Now tell me, what would happen if you stopped reacting? If every time someone tries to provoke you, you just observe? If instead of exploding, you smile quietly because you know something they don't know? Imagine living in that state. Imagine living in a mental place where no criticism touches you, where hostile gestures bounce off your skin like drops on tempered glass. It's not indifference, it's mastery. It's pure Nietzsche. It's the transmutation of emotion into power. It's turning pain into momentum. It's destroying the reactive self and giving birth in its place to a higher self. A self that doesn't need revenge because it has transcended offense. A self that doesn't seek justice because it understands that chaos is not ordered from the outside. It is ordered from within. This is not about becoming a robot. It's about becoming a warrior who has learned to master his first battlefield, his mind. Nietzsche wrote, "He who cannot master himself will be mastered by others." And you know it. You have felt it. Every time someone makes you lose your temper, they are dominating you. Every time you argue, shout, get upset, you are handing over your power. And that eats you up. Because even if you don't say it, you hate yourself for not being able to stay calm. You want to be immune. You want to stop suffering over nonsense. You want to be able to cross paths with anyone and their energy not disturb you even a little bit. You want to be able to say, "Nothing affects me anymore," and mean it. But here comes the uncomfortable part. That is not achieved by ignoring. It is achieved by facing it. It's not about looking the other way. It's about looking so deeply inside yourself that you discover why you react. What part of you feels hurt? What unconscious fear is activated? What poorly formed ego jumps up to defend itself? And then, dismantle it. Nietzsche said it clearly. Man's greatest enemy is not the other, it's his own shadow. The part of him he doesn't control. The part that lives from the wound, not from strength. The part that reacts because it hasn't healed yet. Are you ready to hear what no one tells you? That your irritation is not the world's fault. It is a symptom. A symptom that you have not yet created an identity that can hold itself without others' approval. A symptom that you still take things as if the universe revolves around you. But it doesn't. No one woke up today thinking about how to screw you over, yet you act as if that were the case. Nietzsche knew this. That's why he wrote with rage, with irony, with surgical depth. Because he wanted you to realize, the problem is not what they do to you. The problem is what you allow that to do to you. So if you've come this far looking for how to stop getting irritated with others, get ready. Because the answer is not comfortable. It's not fast. It's not pretty. But it's real. And once you understand it, there's no turning back. Welcome to the beginning of the end of your reactions. Welcome to the start of your transformation. Because yes, you can stop getting upset, but only if you're willing to die symbolically, to kill the version of you that lets itself be provoked. That needs to be right. That demands respect. That seeks justice. And instead, give birth to someone who asks for nothing anymore, because they already have everything from within. Nietzsche called it the Übermensch, Superman. I call it the one who no longer reacts, because they no longer need to. And you? Are you ready to stop being too human, and become the master of yourself? Now listen carefully. It's not just about not reacting. It's about not needing to react. There is a brutal difference. Many people believe the solution is to control yourself, to hold back, to bite your tongue, to breathe deeply when your blood starts to boil. That's not freedom. That's containment. It's a bomb disguised as calm. Because the anger is still there, beating like a slow poison. What Nietzsche proposes is not that you swallow the rage. What he proposes is that the rage no longer makes sense to you, that you overcome it so much that you no longer find a reason to get angry. Not because you have shut down, but because you have evolved. And that evolution comes from a concept that few understand, and even fewer apply. Amor fati, love of fate. But not fate as a religious excuse or cosmic whim. Number. It's accepting reality as it comes, without resistance, without complaint, without hate. Nietzsche didn't say, resign yourself. He said, embrace. Embrace what happens, even the most unpleasant, even what used to upset you, even what you don't understand. Do you know why? Because if you reject it, you make yourself small. But if you accept it, you make yourself invulnerable. Think about this. Someone ignores you. It bothers you, makes you feel invisible. In your old version, you would get angry, frustrated, ask yourself what you did wrong. In your new version, you observe it. You don't deny it. You don't dramatize it. You see it as a neutral fact. And that's where the change happens. You no longer react as if the world owed you an emotion. What was once irritation is now neutrality. And that neutrality is power. Because the one who gets irritated loses their center. The one who remains calm masters everything. But there is something deeper you need to understand. Nietzsche didn't talk about a cold, absent, disconnected man from the world. Number, he talked about the man who has integrated his shadows, the one who voluntarily descended into the hell of his mind, talked with his internal monsters, and came out with them under control. That's why he said, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." Do you know what that means? That the real fight is not outside. It's not others. It's not their gestures, their words, their indifference. The true battle is in you, against that weak self that still needs to explode to feel alive. And here comes another brutal key. Resentment. That corrosive emotion that Nietzsche despised more than any other. Resentment is the poison of the weak. It's the art of chewing on an injustice, a humiliation, an affront, a mockery, and turning it into identity. Have you noticed how many people live resentful? They don't say it. But you notice it in their tone, in their passive-aggressive phrases, in their way of criticizing the world from bitterness. The resentful don't heal with time. They heal with rupture. Internal rupture, with a radical cut. Enough blaming, enough narrating yourself as a victim, enough justifying your irritation on what others do. Nietzsche said it clearly. There are no facts, only interpretations. What bothers you is not what happens. It's how you interpret it. So, what happens if you change the interpretation? What happens if you stop seeing others as threats and see them as mirrors? Yes, mirrors. Reflections of your insecurities, your unhealed wounds, your unacknowledged lacks. That person who irritates you is not the enemy. They are the symptom, the messenger, the one who shows you what inside you is still unresolved. And if you see it that way, every provocation becomes an opportunity, every annoyance a tool, every offensive word a door toward your evolution. Do you realize the paradigm shift? You are no longer at war with the world. You are in process with yourself. And here is where many give up, because it's easier to blame than to transform. It's more comfortable to say, that person irritates me, than to ask yourself, why does what someone who doesn't control my life do affect me so much? And here comes the harshest part. Maybe you get irritated because, deep down, yes, they control you. Because there is a part of you that still lives dependent on the outside, that still needs to be given back an idealized image of itself. And when it doesn't happen, it burns. But you can break that pattern. You can stop depending. Nietzsche called it will to power. Not power over others, but over yourself, over your perception, over your judgment, over your capacity to transform external impact into internal energy. When you reach that level, no one bothers you anymore. Not because there are no provocations, but because there is no one to receive them. You have killed the fragile self, the self that takes everything personally, the self that needs explanations, apologies, or justice. You have created a self that begs for nothing, that demands no respect, that embodies it. And then the unthinkable happens. You become untouchable because you no longer have vulnerable spots. You have recognized, faced, and deactivated them. You are the same, but you no longer react the same because you are different. And at that moment, something deep breaks inside you. You realize that no one can make you feel less without your permission, and you stop giving it. Now look around you. How many people live trapped in borrowed emotions? How many drag anger from years ago? How many don't sleep because of what someone said or didn't say? Do you realize the level of emotional slavery we have normalized? Nietzsche knew it. He saw it in his time. And that's why he broke with everything. He moved away from herd morality, from the need to be approved, from the idea that one must fit in to exist, and he chose to be free. He paid a price, loneliness, misunderstanding, rejection, but he also gained something few achieve, the peace of not needing anyone to be calm. You can do the same. You don't have to be a philosopher. You just have to decide that it's enough. Enough dependence, enough victimhood, enough reactivity. You can decide today that no one else will touch your center without your consent, that no one else will trigger your emotions as if they had the remote control of your mind. And that, my friend, is freedom. Not the one shouted, the one felt, the one lived, the one built in silence when you choose not to respond to chaos with chaos. And now tell me, will you keep letting others have the power to ruin your day? Or will you start building a version of yourself that no longer needs to react because it is understood that true mastery is not in controlling others, but in never letting others control you? So here you are. You have come this far. Not because the video is nice, not because it's easy to listen to, but because something inside you got fed up. Fed up with reacting. Fed up with emotionally depending on gestures, tones, other people's whims. Fed up with living like a leaf in the wind, carried by every comment, every disapproval, every absence. And now you know what you previously ignored. There is a way out. It's not magical, not fast, not comfortable, but it exists. And you are seeing it right now, at this very moment. And before closing, I want you to see one more thing. Something that perhaps escaped you. It's not just about learning not to get irritated. It's about becoming someone who can no longer be dragged into other people's psychological games. Nietzsche didn't want you to become insensitive. He wanted you to become free. Not an animal tamed by social custom, but a creator of your own value. And that means that others' judgment no longer dictates your reactions, your self-esteem, or your direction. You decide. You choose. You hold the helm. The noise is outside. The direction is inside. Do you know what the real full stop of all this is? That the day you stop getting irritated by what others do, that day, you will finally start seeing others as they are. Not as threats, not as obstacles, not as aggressors, but as broken people, just like you, just like everyone, trying to survive their own mental war. That day, you will realize that you don't need to fight them, or educate them, or punish them. You just need to surpass them, in silence, not to prove anything, but because your path is different. And now I propose a challenge, a small but powerful one. Starting today, for a week, don't react. No matter what they say, what they do, what they don't do, observe, analyze, preserve your energy. And ask yourself, do I really need to respond to this? If the answer is not a resounding yes, stay still. Smile inside, because that's what someone who already understands the game would do. And believe me, once you achieve it once, you will want to do it always, because you will know what it feels like to have real control, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone, the kind that no one can take away from you. If you got this far, it's because something inside you is awakening, because you can no longer endure a life lived in reaction, because you want, once and for all, to lead your own mental state. So do it. And if this video pushed you one step closer to that place, subscribe. Because you didn't come here to be entertained, you came to be transformed. And leave one sentence in the comments, just one. I no longer react, I choose. Let the rest of the world scream if it wants. You're no longer there. You are no longer part of the noise. And now, yes, I say goodbye. But not as everyone usually does. Not with a goodbye, nor a see you next time. I say goodbye with silence, because when someone stops reacting, they don't need to close with words, only with presence. So keep this. You are not what they made you feel. You are what you decide never to feel again. Silence. Power. The end.